Moving on now, disturbing news coming in from Sonitpur district in Assam. In what is suspected to be a possible case of human sacrifice, a man allegedly beheaded a 5-year-old child. Angry villagers then lynched the accused to death. Reports suggest that the 5-year-old was allegedly sacrificed during a Kali Puja in Rangapura area at the Assam-Arunachal border. Now, sources say that a tantric named Nanu Mirda was performing this Kali Puja at his residence and forcefully took the 5-year-old child to his room and beheaded him. The child's body was recovered from the residence. As news of the incident spread, angry villagers hacked him to death. Police has recovered both the bodies and is probing this incident. We have Indrajit now joining us for more on this story. Indrajit, this is a very, very disturbing story coming in from Sonitpur district in Assam. Just take us through what really have been the findings as far as this particular incident is concerned. Also, do such practices happen quite frequently in Sonitpur?
Well, Sanket, what we are picking up from locals on the ground is that, this is not something which is new. Similar practices have been reported from various remote areas of Assam. Now, this happened in a place called Rangapur Tea Estate in Sonitpur district. It's on the Assam-Arunachal border, a very remote area. And what we are learning is that initially the locals discovered the dead body, the decapitated body of a 5-year-old child from one of the houses of what they claim belonged to a local tantric. And since the body was found in front of a Kali idol and a puja was organized yesterday evening, so it is locals believe that perhaps it is possibly a case of human sacrifice. Now, once the body of this 5-year-old child was recovered, agitated locals also ransacked the house of this local tantric and he was lynched to death. So both the bodies have now been recovered by the Sonitpur police station. The superintendent of police is not ruling out the possible angle of a personal enmity, because we are learning that this person, the accused, used to work with the father of the deceased child. So that angle is also not being ruled out. However, locals claim prima facie it does look like perhaps a case of a human sacrifice.
That's right. Indrajit, thanks for joining us at this moment. Of course, very, very disturbing story there from Sonitpur in Assam. Moving on now, the face-off between the Gujar community and the Rajasthan government has now finally reached a breakthrough. Now, after a fruitful second round of talks, the government assured the Gujar leader that it will look into all the legal and constitutional angles pertaining to reservation and then introduce a separate bill in the State Assembly. They have reached an agreement where the government will try to give an additional 5% quota to the special backward class, calling this as a victory of the movement. Gujar leader Kirodi Singh Bansla promised of lending full support to the government and hence abiding by the agreement between them. Further, he reassured the government of clearing the rail track and end the week-long agitation. After the meeting with the government, Gujar leader said that the government has agreed to all the demands of the Gujar community. Remember, the Gujars were demanding for an additional 5% quota over and above the 49% quota that already exists in the state. Only yesterday, the Rajasthan High Court had also rapped on the government's knuckles of not being able to resolve this particular crisis.
मुझे विश्वास है कि जो मेरी समाज में 8-9 साल से संघर्ष किया है, कुर्बानियां दी हैं, जो बेहतर लोगों ने अपनी कुर्बानी दी है, उसका प्रतिफल हमको मिल गया.
Let's now cut across live to Mr. Ahmed Singh, who joins us. He's a spokesperson representing the Gujar community. अहमद सिंह जी, ये बताइए कि क्या आपको राजस्थान सरकार की तरफ से क्या आश्वासन मिला है? आश्वासन मिला है या कुछ नतीजा हो गया है?
देखिए, आश्वासन नहीं, हमें लिखित में ड्राफ्ट मिला है और वो ड्राफ्ट शायद इस राजस्थान के लिए एक नया अध्याय जुड़ेगा, क्योंकि जो 14% और 5% का अलग अलग विधेयक ला रहे हैं उसमें सभी लोगों को एक सामाजिक समरसता की जो बात हुई है वो फायदा होगा और हमारे समाज को ये आरक्षण के बारे में लोगों को राहत मिलेगी.
नहीं, मुझे बस ये जानना है कि ये जो आपको लिखित में आश्वासन मिला है ये तो पहले भी मिलता रहा है, तो इस बार ऐसी जी
देखिए मेरी बात सुनिए। पहले लिखित में आश्वासन, केवल आश्वासन मिलता था। अब की बार उन्होंने ये कहा कि पहले विधानसभा सत्र जो अभी जुलाई या अगस्त में आएगा, उसमें ये नया विधेयक लाएंगे एसबीसी आरक्षण का। तो एसबीसी आरक्षण का 5% का अलग विधेयक होगा। स्पेशल सर्कमस्टांसेस बन रहे हैं गुर्जर समाज और 4 जातियों के।
देखिए अहमद सिंह जी, न्यायालय ने ये कहा है कि 50% से ज्यादा आरक्षण हो ही नहीं सकता। तो आप जो ये कह रहे हैं कि उसके 49% के ओवर एंड अबव हमको 5% दे दिया जाए, ये सरकार कैसे मान सकती है और लिखित में कैसे दे सकती है आपको?
देखिए 50 से ऊपर 4-5 स्टेटों में है ऑलरेडी। देश का संविधान एक है, बाकी सभी जगह। इंदिरा साहनी के केस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी अलाउ करा है कि विशेष परिस्थितियां किसी की बनती है तो आप उसको आंकड़े दीजिए और उसके आरक्षण दे दीजिए। उसी विशेष परिस्थितियों में हमें 50 के ऊपर ओबीसी कमीशन ने 2012 में रिपोर्ट कर चुकी है। लेकिन हमारा विधेयक जो 2008 का बना था वो 14% और 5% का जुड़ने से, जो आर्थिक आधार का था, देश के किसी संविधान में उल्लेख नहीं था, उसको जोड़ने से हमारा
ठीक है चलिए, ये मान गए, ये मान गए। अब मैं आपसे एक ऐसा सवाल पूछने वाला हूं, अति संवेदनशील है और आपको मुझे मालूम है ये पसंद नहीं आएगा। आपने एक हफ्ते तक आपने राजस्थान में जो ट्रांसपोर्ट व्यवस्था है, चाहे सड़क हो, रेल हो, हर किस्म का यातायात आपने रोका। कितने लोगों को आपने तकलीफ पहुंचाई? आपको लगता है कि यही एक तरीका है अपनी बात कहने का?
देखिए,
बंबई और दिल्ली में रहने वाले लोगों का क्या कसूर था, या हाईवे इस्तेमाल करने वाले लोगों का क्या कसूर था?
बिल्कुल सच्चाई कह रहे हैं, हम सच कह रहे हैं। लेकिन मेरी सुनिए, जब प्रजातंत्र में किसी की आवाज नहीं सुनी जाती तो आंदोलन
तो सड़क बंद कर देनी चाहिए,
एक हथियार होता है।
नहीं तो रेल उखाड़ देनी चाहिए, सड़क बंद कर देनी चाहिए।
नहीं, हमने कोई रेल नहीं उखाड़ी है। हमारे जब 2007 में आंदोलन हुआ तो सरकार ने उसके गोलीकांड हुआ, 70 लोग मारे गए। जब हमें न्याय नहीं मिला, आखिर आप बताइए हम क्या कर सकते हैं इस देश में? जब हमें कोई न्याय नहीं देता तो हमारा ये रेल रोको आंदोलन था, ये राजनीतिक लोग भी करते हैं। आप राजनीतिक लोगों से पूछे, जब कोई राजनीतिक बात आती, राजनीतिक लोग भी रेल रोको आंदोलन करते हैं, वो भी परेशान होती है।
Ahmed Singh ji, we'll keep this discussion for some other time. Of course, this is highly debatable whether this is the only way to be heard in this country. I mean, there are other tools also. There is a way of representing your voice in other means and other ways. You may choose to look at this as, the last step that was perhaps at your disposal. Ahmed Singh, many thanks for joining us at this moment. So the Gujar unrest has now finally ended. The tussle between the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi and the centre is intensifying with every passing day. The Supreme Court is set to hear the centre's plea challenging against the Delhi High Court remark terming its 21st May notification on the powers of the LG as suspect. Central government claims that the observations made by the High Court have left the equation between the LG and the Delhi government in total uncertainty. Let's go across to Kamaljeet, who joins us for this particular story as well. Now, Kamaljeet, this entire matter is now in the courts, and as far as the BJP is concerned, this question was asked to the BJP President Amit Shah, and he said that the real crisis is not a fight between the centre and the state. The real crisis is the interpretation of the law. Where exactly or how exactly should the powers of the LG be interpreted? This is something which has gone to the courts, and that the court is eventually going to decide. Do you think that while the interpretation of the law is being debated, discussed, and the matter is sub judice and now, with the court, it's really on the ground here in Delhi that the Aam Aadmi is suffering because of this continuous back and forth, who has jurisdiction over what? The Bijli Sadak Pani issues of Delhi or the national capital are something which are suffering.
Well, Amit Shah is a seasoned politician. For him to say that this is not a power tussle is perhaps an eyewash of sorts, but this is definitely a tussle of power between the centre as well as the state. Now, remember that there are two cases, one in the High Court and one in the Supreme Court. The High Court cases where the Aam Aadmi Party is challenging the MHA notification, where they've also included the services part. They're saying land, public order, police is definitely with the governor, but not the services. So once the officer is transferred from the central government deputation observation towards Delhi, he can be transferred anywhere by the Delhi government, by the Delhi Chief Minister, a right which has not been given by the centre rightfully to the Delhi Chief Minister. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party contention is. That's what they're challenging in the High Court. Now, what the MHA has done is they've gone against the ACB order of the High Court, where they've called MHA's action suspect and challenged that very fact, saying this High Court observation was unconstitutional. Perhaps their own version was not even heard of before that kind of judgment was given. But now is the time that both the MHA and the centre are willing to really fight it out in a very, very public fight. It's obviously washing dirty linen outside, but definitely if the matter is in the court is going to take cognizance, and obviously they will go through what the Constitution really says, where the power really lies.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kamaljeet, and it will be interesting how the court actually observes on this particular matter as this tussle is actually going on between the centre and the state. Many thanks for joining us at this moment.